want to share with you all today, based on those experiences, I developed some practices 30 years ago. And now for the last 15 years, I've been coaching senior leaders in major corporations every day to use these same practices, to move from being frantic and frazzled to being what I call a strategic leader. And my definition of a strategic leader is someone who knows themselves. They know what their values are. They know what their strengths are. They know what's important to them. And they align their day-to-day activities with those things, their values and their strengths and what's most important. That's my definition of a strategic leader. And then a strategic leader is someone who, because they have that sense of groundedness and that capacity, they're able to bring out the best in other people and develop other leaders. So that's what I want for each of us today, to move from that mindlessness that we all get caught up in, where we race out of the house in our flip-flops. Because we all go there. The question is, how long are we going to stay there? And the practices I want to share with you today are practices that will help you stay there for about 20 nanoseconds instead of 20 minutes or 20 days, or like me, in my case, 20 years. Mindlessness for 20 years, the whole time I was a CPA. That's how I had to go. Just be mindless. I was so not successful that in the 80s I was going to write a book about how to build your wealth through severance packages. I got so many attractive severance packages. They would literally pay me to go away. They would say, Katharine, today's your last day. We need you to go today. So these practices that I want to share with you are practices that I developed to keep, they really kept me from having to be institutionalized. I'm sure I could have gone over the edge. So they're really important. And all of you are doing some great, you wouldn't be here today if you weren't doing great time management and life management skills. So I don't want to imply that you're not doing any of these things. What I want to encourage you to do, though, is listen from the perspective of how might you take what you're already doing and take it to the next level. Bump up your effectiveness just a tad. Get yourself just that much more grounded, that much more strategic. So the first exercise, and you don't have to arrive early. Now, all of you as speakers know the power of arriving early, right? You wouldn't think of not arriving early for a speaking engagement. You want to get there hour and a half in advance, if not the day before. You want to check out the room. You want to meet people. You want to go over all the AV stuff. You want to get yourself grounded and centered and focused, right? Well, what I want to encourage you to do is to take that practice and use it across the board. Give yourself that 20-minute reserve, either between meetings, if you're still in a corporate environment, you're going to meetings in a building. You only schedule meetings for 45 minutes, so you have a 15 or 20-minute break to jot down a few things, like, what did I promise these people? And what did those people promise me, more importantly? And regulate your liquids, maybe get a little nutrition. So you have that 15 or 20 minutes. It's just like as if you're a speaker, you're getting a chance to prepare, be grounded. If you're driving someplace, if you leave late, invariably what happens is you get behind a school bus, or you get caught up in construction, or the parking lot attendant is an idiot. So this, getting there 20 minutes early, gives you a chance to catch your breath. Remember what the purpose of the meeting is. I know none of you ever show up in meetings where you don't know the purpose, but many people today end up in meetings and they have no idea why they're there. It just was on the calendar and they showed up. So you have a chance to think, what's the purpose of the meeting? What's the objective of the meeting? What's the outcome I need to get? What role do I need to play? Am I here to brief somebody, or is somebody going to be briefing me? Am I the decision maker, or am I just going to be sharing my perspective and giving them input? What's my role? What are the desired outcomes? What's the original objective of the darn meeting in the first place? So that's exercise number one, giving yourself that 20 minutes of prep time by getting places early. The second exercise that I think is really important, and by the way, this is a hierarchy. You have to start with these fundamentals and work your way up. So the second exercise is what I call doing a brain dump. Now, all of us are successful list makers. We make lots of lists. We make lists for our spouses, their to-do lists, you know, honey-do lists. We make lists for our people. We make lots of lists. The weakness I find in most people's lists is, one, they're doing it on the computer, and we can keyboard as fast as we can think, but we cannot write as fast as we can think. So if you write out your to-do list, much more effective, because it gives you a chance to say, hey, maybe I'm not even the right person. This shouldn't even be on my to-do list. This should be on Bob's to-do list. So doing that brain dump, and there's some important factors that I like for people to consider when they do their brain dump. You want to include everything, not just work, but personal, family, everything that's important to you. And you want to put down the mundane. You want to put down that you have to stop and pick up your dry cleaning, or you have to stop and pick up some milk and bread. Because you see, as we age, this is no longer an effective storage facility. If you're keeping your to-do list and those details up here, you cannot be a strategic leader, because you cannot manage the conversations in your head. I see some smiles, people are relating. So you want to chunk it down, and you don't want to just put down that I got to do my tax return and get it filed by April 15th. You want to put down that you got to make the appointment with your CPA, you got to make the appointment with your bookkeeper, you got to make sure those 1231 bank reconciliations have been done. You want to make sure that you have all the data. So you want to chunk that task down. If you put down, get my tax return completed by April 15th, you never get it done. You get an extension that year. And it's overwhelming to us. It's too big. But if you put down the 300 steps, every day you get to check a few off. Boost your self-esteem. You feel a sense of accomplishment. I pulled last year's file. I made a call to the CPA to make the appointment. So you want to chunk it down into baby steps. If you're going to have a speaking engagement in March in Toledo, Ohio, you want to chunk down all the things about the materials that you need to prepare, the logistics and the arrangements that need to be made, the shoes that you're going to pack. Right. She's so coachable. I love her. So that's a brain dump. So now we're moving up the hierarchy. The third one is calendaring. And I've been calendaring for 30 years. This is a key piece of what kept me from having to be carried off in a straitjacket. But I just recently, in the last couple of years, found a tool that I think is the best, and I don't get a fee from these people. It's called a planner pad, plannerpads.com. $29.95. It helps you stay focused on the big picture and your day-to-day activities and your brain dump at the same time. You get a week at a glance, and you get 30 days at a glance too. Plannerpads.com, plural. It's the best tool I've seen. Now, we still keep the electronic calendar, of course, because Bonnie and Matthew and all our people have to have that calendar. But I take what's in that electronic calendar and I copy it into here, because again, it gives me a chance to say, now is that even supposed to be on my calendar? Am I the best person to be in that meeting? Am I supposed to really use my time, my limited time and resources and energy on that endeavor? So the writing of things out really helps you get that clarity. And what I do, this might be a little OCD for y'all, but what I do is I write down on the week at a glance, a couple of days out, what my actual appointments are. And then as I take my quiet time every day, I review and edit, what meeting got bumped. Because when you're working with CEOs, they have less control over their calendar than the frontline people. They have so little control. So my calendar is like always moving, because their calendars are moving. So then I scratch out, I didn't actually meet with that person. I did email for that hour. It really helps me feel like I'm in control, like I got my hands around everything. And then from that, it'll generate more to-dos, more brain dump.